So thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about reporting today and our approach to reporting and all the different ways, the tools that we have available to us that we can transit into the client's toolbox and just get them the data that they need. So I want to say hello. My name is Lisa Callahan. I've been here for about 2.5 years, and I am the analytics person. And so I do a lot of stuff with analytics and charts and graphs and getting stuff out of the system. So that's me.
Hi, my name is Matt Slazak. I'm a principal HCM consultant here at RPI. Been here for about 8 or 9 years now. I don't even know anymore. So yeah, and before that I was independent for a while, and I spent 16 years at a local cancer research hospital in Buffalo, New York, working in HRIS and doing a lot of reporting there.
My name is Gulzar Kasam. I'm a principal consultant with WFM. Been with this application Infor WFM for the last 7 years. And during this time, I specialized in using WFM provided reporting tools, including first performance report authoring and query designer. And I look forward to this webinar today to learn more about other products.
My name is Beau Hunt. I've been in the Infor Lawson space for about 20 years now. About 9 of those now with RPI, so about the same as you, Matt.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. My focus since I've been with RPI really has been around reporting and analytics across the different suites.
Okay, well, thank you guys for the intros. The first thing I wanted to kind of dive into is reporting the tools that are available. And one of the big questions that I run into is there one solution that fits all? And so my answer to that, of course, is no. But what are the different options that they have as far as can we use their tools if they have them? Do we recommend certain tools for operational reporting versus local reporting? So if you guys can just kind of speak to your areas and the reporting tools that you know that you can offer to the clients.
Yeah, I think at a high level, it's a lot harder these days with reporting because before we had direct database access and really you could bring whatever tool you wanted. And of course, our Lawson clients, predominantly, we're doing a lot of their reporting just in crystal reports and LBI. So these days, we don't really have one solution for reporting, right? We really need to think about what the reporting need is. Is it operational? Is it analytical? Is data latency going to be a problem? And that's when we start to look at, hey, list views are going to be your best bet for this, or maybe it's going to be, if it's a financial report, we might be looking at BIFSM and the custom app studio report, or a GL report designer that that's getting a little bit easier to use now as well. So, or of course we have Burst and the different WFM tools. They have their own reporting solutions as well. So it's kind of in some ways all over the place, but you can kind of follow a logical path to find what the right tool is.
And so on that same, as a follow-up to that, is there, as RPI, as we implement different customers, is there a way that we recommend certain tools, or is it more like, let's go to the client on the client site, see what they have, what works for them? Like, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So I guess, what is our approach as far as is reporting at the beginning? Is it at the end? When does it come in? What should a client worry about? Matt, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I think there's been a tendency for a very long time where reporting is kind of an afterthought. And what we try to focus on as a company and as a team in general is we really try to shift that paradigm and try to bring it more up front. One of our foundational ethics, I think, is we like to start with the end in mind. And if we know that this data is going to be consumed for regulatory reporting, for example, we know that we've got to focus on that and make sure we're serving that kind of information up, make sure that it's able to be consumed by whatever tool it happens to be. To your point, there's a lot more options available. In the past, I know, especially on the HCM side, we would go into any client and say, hey, what do you do for reporting, or what do you need for reporting? And a lot of times it was, well, we just pull a list when we need it. But now there's a lot more strategic value to pulling reports and trying to get ahead of the data. So, we can go in, we can start to look at regulatory reporting, we can look at Operational reporting, that list view kind of capability, it's been expanded a lot. So we can actually use a lot more of that, a lot more real-time data if we need to. And then there's also, with list views even, there's columnar reports. There's a lot more options available. So we really start with that. We try to go with what needs you have right now. And we also bring to the table what we've seen other people do. So some nice little nuggets of information or reports that we've built for other people, we like to talk about those and say, hey, have you thought about this? Could this help you to add some strategic value if you just have this number on a dashboard somewhere? Is that going to be helpful for you?
And so I want to talk about, you touched on it, we just touched on it before about operational versus analytical reporting. I think that's something that it took me a little while to figure out what the difference was. And so I want to go ahead and explain when to use operational reporting as opposed to analytical reporting and what are the tools for that. So Gulzar, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so in WFM space, operational report database is instantaneously replicated. So that database, that data is accessible almost almost real time. So it is like if you execute it today, then you'll get it today's current data, versus analytics is sometimes a day worth, a day old, or even because that is mainly for executives or bigger pictures of things, versus operational is detailed as much as possible and current today's data. So that is like frontline workers or for frontline supervisors or managers will use mainly operational reports, versus analytics is more like a broader, bigger picture. So in WFM space, we do have tools available which are available for operational reporting, and that we are mainly we are using Cognos for that, and for analytics we are using Burst Analytics for WFM.
Okay. And then also, so I know we have RPI. We currently have two products. We have WFM, Workforce Management, GHR, or I guess now it's HRT.
Talent.
Pick
Right.
whatever you want to
I
call
think
it.
the latest is Infor Human Capital or Infor Human Resources.
I didn't know that was a
I think
different
it changed literally like about a month ago. So,
one. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Good
So
to know.
Yeah.
yes, there's that one. And then of course we have FSM, and I think it's still FSM.
As far as I know,
Yeah.
yes.
So every one of those products comes with an analytic package, which is, as you mentioned, the kind of charts and graphs and higher level stuff like that. And then they all have operational reporting. I know that WFM is a little bit in a different space than that. And so I guess I wanted to talk about the fact that all of us are in different spaces as far as that, but the reporting is kind of a higher level, I guess. And so no matter what space that you guys, that our clients or our customers are in, the structure, I guess, is the same of all the reporting. So I kind of want to touch on that a little bit. So let me take a look at my notes here and see what else we have. Okay, let's talk about the challenges in reporting. To me, one of the bigger challenges we kind of already discussed is the fact that if the client has Crystal Reports or Tableau or SQL, this is what they want to use. Sometimes Infor CloudSuite is not conducive to that. So I know that we have tools available. We can write APIs and we can write those sort of things. If they want to use their software, we can make it work. I know we've had some clients where we've used Crystal and done their stuff. So I guess my question is, if a client really wants to use a specific tool that they have, how would we handle that?
So yeah, I mean, we've got some options now with getting data out of the data lake. So we can use some of the JDBC drivers and whatnot to allow things like Crystal Reports to access data that's out there. And again, one thing you always got to consider is that data latency, right? So are we populating that with rep sets? Are those on the schedule? But we do have data streaming coming, which is going to make it more near real time. So the answer is really we want to understand what the business need is from all sides. Again, is it operational? Is it analytical? And then we can kind of figure out what the best solution is. But yeah, we can use their own tools that they have expertise in.
And I think one thing to bring up with that though as well is just because they've got it and this is what they've been using forever, I think we do try to challenge people as well to say, do you really need this? Or do you need it the same way? Especially when we're looking at things like a migration from V10 to talent management, we're changing the foundation of the system. And not all the fields are going to be the same. Or even doing an upgrade from a single tenant to a multi-tenant environment, there's a transformation of some data that can occur if you want it to occur, and some that is just going to happen. So you have to be ready for that. So kind of questioning the answer, I think, becomes a really good exercise for all of us, making sure that they need the data that they're seeing, and the data really means what they think it means. The number of times any of us go into a client, I think, and say, well, what do you need? Or what does this report mean to you? You're going to get 5 different answers from 5 different people. So it's good to kind of question that, I think, as we're going through the process.
Well, and with technology that changes, one of the things that all the platforms, at least that we work with, have in common is the analytics module. All is powered by Burst, right? So, investing in Learning Burst is a good thing for clients to do at this point, because really, there's a lot of powerful things you can do. And the other nice thing with everything being in that, we can also combine data sets. I know that's one thing that we've done recently, Lisa, or that you worked on,
Right.
is getting some data from WFM over into the HRT model.
Yeah.
So the data become accessible from different sources into
Right.
one, which is great.
Right. I know that I was going to mention one thing is that once you're with cloud reporting, right, there's certain things that you have access to, there's you don't have access to. So I think that finding creative ways for us to port data from here over to here does become something that we need to work on. So yeah. And I also wanted to, let's see, there was something that you talked about. Oh, so one common challenge in reporting is this, to me, this notion of out of the box reporting. Like right. So we're all kind of like, haha. So those things don't go together in my mind. There's no out of the box reporting. I think that's a common misconception among just people, clients, and our clients and everybody is that when Infor designs their reports and they do their delivered content, they do it at a really high level. And so it's going to kind of fit everybody, but it's not going to actually fit anybody. So I wanted to talk about out of the box reporting, and like I said, there's analytics versus operational, and how difficult is it, like to your point, as far as in the implementation, if we're in the room in the beginning and they have this list of 100 reports, and then you say to them, okay, usually they'll just be like, here, I want these reports. And we need to go through and say, do you need it? Who uses it? That kind of thing. Because then, it takes, they're not out of the box. So the smaller the list that we have, the more we can customize it to fit them. So I kind of want to talk about out of the box reporting. And I want to go ahead and start with you, Gulzar, with Cognos. And how do you handle your out of the box requests, or what is the effort that you have?
So WFM, Infor WFM comes with 40 plus reports, core reports. We go over with all the reports which are available in core, and then we ask clients, is this sufficient for you? Or maybe their compliance wise, their employees' requirements are different. And usually that is the case. So usually they say, can we add this column or something to the core report? And then we edit only that portion. There are metadata available, so you don't really need to be too much technical to create those reports or edit those reports. You can just add the prompts and you're ready to go. Then there are some complex reporting needs, which we need complex SQLs to kind of fetch the data and get us those complex reports. The beauty about the metadata which is available, the security is inbuilt, so that takes care of a lot of things for you. And so yes, you're right, there is no like one solution fits all, but then there are core reports available which little tweaks here and there, you can make it your own version of, and it fits your needs and requirements as well.
Yeah, I mean, the number of times you'll go to, client to client, and something as simple, I'm a core HR person. I've been, working in HR for way too long now. So, but the whole concept of something as simple as, like, show me your turnover report. And turnover seems like it's a basic concept. And there are some things that are delivered, like there's a pre-built turnover cube in GHR, which has been there forever, and they've supplemented it in talent analytics now, and it's a lot better over there now, I think. But that fundamental question of what is turnover is different client by client.
That's right. The same thing with us as a productivity report, right? Depends on what you say as a productivity. So the business well, and we know the reporting well. So let's combine the knowledge together and make something which is your own custom report. It is custom report, but not too much effort is sometimes required.
Right.
To
And
get
I
that.
think for the most part, it's the 80-20 rule, right?
Mhm.
You get about 80% of what you need, and then,
Yeah.
and then you got 20% of adding fields or making adjustments to logic because they calculate something a little bit different.
Right, right. Yeah, I think maybe the only exception to that comes down to if there's a regulatory report. And we, on the HR side, we'll end up with a lot of those. So your EEO1s, your EEO4s, these are standard templates that are delivered and we have to send back to the federal government or the state reporting agencies for unemployment, things like that. So those are a little bit more predefined. But even with that, to your point, we're still going in and we're tweaking a little bit about it and saying, okay, well, this field is the one that you really have to key off of. And still delivering it in that same format. EEO1 is EEO1, no matter how you slice it. But we have to make sure that things are mapped to the right places.
Right. And I want to touch on, we talked about with the customizations that we can do for the client. I know one of the big concerns is, okay, so I've customized this report, I've added a field, or I've changed this. What happens when Infor does their monthly updates? Am I going to lose everything that I have? Like, what are the ways that we as a company, RPI, we can make sure and safeguard our clients that they don't lose all the stuff that they've created?
Yeah, so I mean, the reality is, everybody looks at we're in the cloud. Well, with BI and analytics, yes, we are in the cloud, but the clients have their own instances. And Burst, they have their own spaces, and BI, it's their own separate database. So the reality is, when CUs come out, it doesn't overwrite their custom content, but at the same time, we also enable our clients on how to do things like do proper backups and automate some of those processes as well.
And I'm assuming the same is true for like if you have a custom list view, and then they have an update is a similar thing where like if you have a customized thing that it's going to be safe, or is it's in a certain folder, we tell them, hey, this is the folder you're going to use. Like, is it similar?
Yeah, for a lot of the list view reporting that we'll do right out of the application, they're pretty well insulated. They're not going to go anywhere. A CU will roll through and it's not going to delete that data. You're still going to have that list view out there. Not to say that there might not be a change inside there. Maybe they've changed the business class, maybe they've added a couple new fields. But if you've got a list view report out there, by definition, that's already a configured list. So you're not going to lose the data that's in there. The data behind the scenes is still in the business classes. You're just presenting it on this list view. And even if they add a new field, you're not using that. You're using a view of that business class already. So that I think the exercise there becomes going in, and if you know that they've added something, if you see something in a CU release note that something new is coming out, you might have to actively go out and get that field if you think it's going to be valuable, but you're not going to lose the data.
Okay, very good.
Similar approach for WFM as well. So we have a custom folder into the content, and if you put anything in custom folder, it's not going to go anywhere. So I think that's the best practices for any client to do is you move your report into custom folder, and that's it, and then you're safe.
Right?
Yeah, which is good because I know the clients I've talked to, and I'm sure you all have as well, like they're afraid to do anything new because they've been burned before with other products that they have. And so I think that also speaks to the fact that reporting should be involved at the beginning, right? To be able to safeguard all the stuff that happens. So at the end, they don't go, oh, reporting, and they run and they call us and they're panicking for yesterday's reports. And we're like, well, if you've done this in the beginning. So I think that our approach, I mean, I obviously like it. I think it makes sense for how we're doing stuff. So, and I want to talk about one thing we talked about securing data. So there's different roles, there's different groups, right? For as far as data goes, there's the source system, there's WFM, HCM, and FSM, and then you have the reporting tools. So I wanted to talk about there's data level security as well as I think report level security. So can we go ahead and just talk about how the data is secured, and is that something out of the box? Is there custom roles that need to be in Burst, or is it all just flow through? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's all the analytical solutions. Maybe we'll start talking about Burst first. So all the analytical solutions, they have functional roles that define what report level security you have. So when I go to this dashboard, I'm presented with different functional areas. If I'm an FSM, I have receivables, I have AP, I have purchasing. And depending on the roles that I have been assigned, I'll have access to those different areas. So that's kind of your report and your catalog security. And that's similar across the board, whether we're talking about CSF analytics, HRT analytics, or workforce analytics. The other thing that we have, and this varies by solution, obviously, because security means different things in different modules, is we also have built-in data level security. And that mimics what the security build you have in WFM or in GHR. Out of the box, unless the only real security on the FSM side you have at the data level side is you can apply, if you're doing dimension level security in GL, you can roll that in on any of the finance dimensions. But yeah, it's typically turned off out of the box on the FSM side, while of course GHR and WFM is much more sensitive. So.
Okay.
Similar to what he said, it's just one thing which I like to add here is like if you are using the Infor provided metadata in Cognos, then it is all good. The security is inbuilt. But when you're writing SQL, then you have to make sure whoever is the report writer for SQL reports, and they have to make sure that they add that into their filters, that who is allowed to see the data. So that is something that when you report writer write the report, they have to make sure that the query is optimized, secure, so the data is not viewable by other people who are not supposed to see the data.
Okay.
And then, like even on the list view side within GHR and talent management, it's going to be following the person's security that they already have. So if they've got generalist level security, they're going to be able to see only the generalist org units that they're allowed to see. But the key on that, and where people I've seen trip up on it a little bit, is landmark security is permissive and pervasive. So if you have permissions to see this field over in this other area, and it's on the report, you're going to see that field because you inherited that access from another role. So that's the one thing where people have to be conscious of it. And to the flip side of it is you could have a field on a report, and we've received feedback from clients where they're like, well, I don't see this field, but this person over here, like Beau sees it, he can see it fine. Beau has more security, but I still see that column because it's not going to filter that column out. I just am not going to see the data behind it. So, but it does work together with the overall security model.
Well, I think usually the people probably panic. I think that the report's broken. Right?
Yes,
Like,
absolutely. Yes.
go,
Yep.
That's
And then
why.
you're like, no, calm down. But yeah,
Right.
yeah, I definitely can appreciate that. And okay, so the last thing I want to talk about was training. So like I said, once we go through implementation, right, and we go through the whole project and they have all their reports and they're really happy, and then we go, okay, we're done, goodbye. Like, is that where we end? Or like, do we have training packages? Like, I guess like how do we, when we say goodbye to the client, what are our kind of ideas as far as empowering them? So.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, I think, you know, our philosophy is always, if you don't know how to run your own system, we haven't done our job. So we do, you know, we're not going to just throw software at you and then run out the door and say, good luck. We want you to understand and own the software that you've got. It's your data. You know, you want to be able to live with this on a daily basis. So we're going to do everything that we can to enable you to understand how to administer this and how to use it going forward. I think we've done some like boot camp kind of trainings as well for folks.
We have, and you know, I mean, typically if you're doing a project with RPI, one of the things that I've always appreciated since I started with RPI is we don't do trainings in stale environments. We always do training whenever possible, obviously, with the client's live data in a test environment, but data that they're familiar with, especially when you're doing reporting, because there's nothing worse than trying to learn a reporting tool when you have no background on what the data is. So, you know, we always try to do it in with their data and leave them behind and use real world examples of stuff that we built with them through the project, because that's going to be important and they're going to be supporting that when we walk away.
I think training is an important part of every implementation, just because if the tool is unknown to them, then they will not use it. And if it's not used, that we have not done our job correctly, right, as you said. So training them the tools which we use to implement their report, I think that will empower them to go and build more if they want to, or edit them if they need to, right? So I think that is very important part of any implementation I've worked with so far. And we do provide trainings, just trainings too, as a boot camps, as you mentioned. But I think while we are creating the reports for them, conversations with them to make sure that the requirements are met and also that their learning is an important part of our implementations.
Right, right. Would agree. So that was all that I think I had to talk about. So is there anything that maybe you guys thought of during our discussion that you wanted to bring up or touch on some more?
I would say that I think the one constant, especially in the multi-tenant world, is change. It's always changing. New CUs are coming out, all the time. Not just the major releases in April and October, but even the monthly ones. You might see a little tweak in there, especially, going to go back to the HCM regulatory reporting. Starting in October, we're starting to get these big, annual updates where we're going to start to see, those kinds of things coming through, and we have to be ready for them. So stay up on release notes. There's always new things coming out. Landmark and GHR in general, they've recently rolled out their own kind of pre-built package. There's a report catalog of list view reports, which didn't used to exist at all. And they're adding to that all the time. So it's something where it's always good to just keep exploring and keep being curious about the data and seeing what else is coming out. Look at the release notes. It's not the old days where we would just get an update and we have no idea what happened. We can actually see what's actually coming out now. So that'd be one thought.
And I want to talk about, since you mentioned the release notes and keeping abreast of stuff, as well as that there is a very active user community for all the products, for FSM, for HCM, for WFM, for Burst. And if on the Infor website, you can just go, and I actually use that tool a lot. I ask questions, I ask newbie questions, I ask high-level questions, and that's where I get a lot of my answers. So I would say that's one thing great about Infor is that they do have a large community of others. So when we do say goodbye or see you later to our clients, we can give them the tools. In addition to training, we can also give them, this is a community. You'll see me on there. You can ask me a question. You can email me. You can email anybody. That I think it's a fantastic thing Infor does. So I wanted to bring that up as well. There's nothing else. I guess I want to say thank you all for joining us. And if you do have any questions, you can email questions@rpic.com.